Good day, everybody, and welcome to episode 49 on my YouTube video series. And today I'm going to talk about a topic, a survey that I saw online conducted in Singapore that shows that 1 in 3 Singaporean residents are considering to retire in Johor Bahru. 1 in 3, which is, I think, quite a significant number. That means every 3 people you see, 1 of them highly consider it, right? So let's go into the details of this survey, how I found this survey, how does the survey ask the questions, and go through some of the other findings that we saw. So as per usual, let's start this video with an introduction on myself.
Director of Alpha Marketing at
Ryan Speaking in Malaysia. So my name is Ryan. Nama saya Ryan.
6,000 incoming supply in Johor. This is
I'm writing thank you for attending today's presentation on Iskandar, Malaysia.
My name is Ryan Khoo and I am a Singaporean permanent resident. I'm a Malaysian based in Singapore. I've been in Singapore since 2009, and if you watch my video series, you know that I am a quite a avid content producer on topics relating to retirement or living in Johor Bahru from a Singapore resident perspective, and also how to buy property in JB or Malaysia. And basically, I'm a property investor. I've been doing property investment since 2012 and also since 2007. Both started off in KL and then Singapore and JB. So I do own multiple real estate properties in KL, JB, and in Singapore today. I've made money a few times through timely investments. I've also lost money investing in real estate. So I consider myself, you must sometimes make mistakes to learn the lessons, all right? So yeah, I've been a speaker on Property Guru, on HProp, on ST Property. I've written articles for HProp as well with relations to property investing in Malaysia and Singapore. So in today's topic, I found online actually a survey by a company called Sensing SG. So I first thought, who is this Sensing SG? So let me copy paste here who they are. Basically, it's a platform that does they try and engage Singaporeans on a quarterly basis, tracking a fixed set of responses, right? Basically about life in Singapore and Singapore government services and things like that, external issues that they are facing the Singapore residents at any point in time. So they do it quarterly, right? And basically, what they do is they survey 1,500 Singaporeans as well as permanent residents, aged 18 years and above. The survey is 15 minutes and they do it every quarterly. Right, and there's a spotlight session, right? And they are run by this company called Black Box Research and Qualtrics, both Singapore companies. I don't know them. This is the first time I've heard of this company or this survey called Sensing SG. Now, interestingly, Sensing SG recently had a survey. And their quarterly survey was something that they asked about Johor Bahru, right? Which I found life in Johor Bahru. And how that life and how much do you want to be connected to life in Johor Bahru, especially if the RTS is completing, and since both the Singapore and Malaysian governments are working a lot together. So some of the questions in the survey, which I found, because very rarely we come into a survey that specifically focuses on the Johor Bahru Singapore relationship. So I thought it was quite nice that Black Box Research and Qualtrics did this through Sensing SG. So let's go through the details. And one of the things that we saw, of course, I mentioned earlier, 1 in 3 Singaporeans or Singapore residents are thinking about or highly considering retirement in Johor Bahru. Okay, so let's start this. So yeah, so in this latest survey, they actually did ask the sentiments, the special relationship between Singapore and Malaysia, especially in the context of the recent special economic zone and travel links, which basically the RTS is going to improve between JB and Singapore soon, that will have a potential to have a transformative impact, right? So spotlight on the Singapore-Malaysia relationship. So let's go through the survey questions. Okay, so the first question is, how often do you visit Johor Bahru, right? And sometimes I run into people who tell me that nobody go JB1 and things like that. So here we actually have finally a statistical survey that shows it. And if you look at the data, you can take a quick look at the data here, right? Pause the video if you have to just look at the data cleanly for yourself. But basically, if you see it from a monthly perspective, 31% of residents in Singapore go to JB at least once a month. 31%. So daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, right? 31% go to JB at least once a month. In fact, I just saw a YouTube channel by two sisters in Singapore, content creators, right? They actually rented a place in JB, right? Because they go to JB so often, right? So and they are quite young. Yeah, these are young, beautiful, young girls, right? Who do content creation on social media on YouTube, right? And they actually rented the place. I was quite surprised. I thought you go JB, you don't need to rent if you're just doing content creation, right? But they go so often that they go and rent. So I mean, yeah, you never expect, right? Whoever has a need for all this, and anyhow, it's not expensive. So 31% of people go to JB at least once a month. So I think that's quite interesting. So basically, again, about 1 in 3, right? Next question is, how supportive are you of relaxing the cross-border arrangements between Singapore and JB, right? If you can travel between JB and Singapore a lot more easier, more convenient, are you against or don't oppose, right? So you can see here basically 90% support, right? So basically everybody in Singapore, right, or 90%, 9 in 10 people in Singapore support, either strongly support or mildly support, right, to travel across the border more conveniently. Only 10% people oppose for whatever reason. Okay, but 90% support. The logical thing is to support, of course, right? Assuming there are closer arrangements in the future to allow to conveniently travel to and from Singapore, how likely are you to consider each of the following? You can pause the video and take a look at just to look at the data, all the questions that they're asking here. Basically, start a new business, move an existing business from Singapore to JB, live in JB, commute to Singapore, buy a holiday home, rent a holiday home, eventually retire, take day trips to JB, buy a residential home, right? A number of points here, but do pause the video to take a look if you want to screenshot this or have some understanding in detail. But let me show you some key findings that I've summarized in the next few slides, right? So number one, 25 to 26%, or basically 1 in 4 people, said it's very highly likely they will consider starting a business in JB, right? Or move or expand an existing business from Singapore to JB. Means 1 in 4 people will think that, hey, maybe I should open a business in JB, or if I have an existing business in Singapore, I might consider expansion into JB, right? So 1 in 4, which is quite high, right? 30% said they will consider commuting. That means they live in JB and commute every day, daily, commute daily to Singapore, between JB and Singapore, if there was easier, more convenient to travel, right? So if it's convenient to travel, right, 30% said they will consider commuting daily, 30%, yeah. Okay, and this is from people who about what we were saying, about 31% that go to JB once a month. Right now, they may consider commute daily, probably the same bunch of people, right? If they said that it's easier to travel, they may go every day, right? In the daily travel, right? 33 to 34% said they will consider either buying or renting a property in JB, so just above 1/3. And again, 34% said they will consider eventually retiring in JB. So 1 in 3 people, yeah. So if you mention Singapore today have 5 over million people, right? So 1/3 is like 1 to 1.5 million Singaporeans or Singapore residents who consider retiring in JB. Yeah. So if 1 to 1.5 million all say retire in JB, I think JB overcrowded already. But I mean, they're only considering, so highly considering. So not all will go, but even if half or even 10, 20% of that figure, right, few 100,000 people eventually retiring in JB, right, is a huge sum to add to the JB population, right? Okay, especially if there's convenient travel, right, which is the question here, right? 40% they will consider doing day trips for medical procedure. Something interesting, because today it shows 2 things. Number one, they are willing to travel with the better transport, because they're not scared about you doing medical procedures in JB, because of course, and number 3 is actually it's cheaper. That one, that's the other reason, right? And the other point is 72% will consider day trips to JB, right? So day trips means go in, go out, not staying overnight, right? Where they will do shopping, dining, entertainment, etc. So 72% said they will go, right? If there was a better transport link, which is i.e. the RTS. And 58% will consider taking regular staycation. So staycation means you will stay overnight. So quite high figures over here. So basically half the population said they will go regular staycation. 70% will say they will go day trips a lot more often, right? And remember that earlier in today's scenario, that only 31% go to JB today, which is what I'm trying to say. So you see the big jump in the figures, right? Once RTS, how much impact will the RTS change? Because today the problem most people face is actually the travel time, right? It takes too long, right? A lot of people still say got traffic jam or worried about traffic jam, right? Or the long travel times. So if the either transportation, more convenient travel to and from Singapore, i.e. the new RTS Link, then a lot more people will consider to travel into JB. So this is the reason today why we are so bullish about property or real estate in JB, or basically then very bullish on the economic situation in JB today. Okay, next question is how many percent actually do own or rent a property in JB or have investments in JB? Basically, only 24%, right? From this chart shows that they have a property or renting a property in JB or have investments in JB. So it's still quite a low figure, relatively speaking, right? Still a lot of people haven't committed to real estate, whether buying or renting in JB yet, right? And the last question is, Singapore and Malaysian governments recently signed an MOU. What among all these factors over here, there's a long list. I hope you can see it because the text is a bit small, right? What among all the factors over here, which of these will likely encourage you to visit JB on a more regular basis? So again, if you want to take a look in detail, do pause the video and take a look at all the different options here one by one. And again, let me summarize, I think the four, which is actually the bottom four, right? The four factors that most respondents think that are the things that will make you go to JB a lot more often, okay? So basically in the end, the top four options are number one, RTS. Okay, so basically people want a shorter travel time through easier way to travel through RTS. 73% said RTS will make a big difference. Have RTS means I will go to JB more, right? 69% at passport-free travel, which includes a QR code, which is currently in discussion under Singapore and Malaysia. So 69% that with QR code, don't need passport, right? Which basically means reduced immigration time, right? This 69%, basically what they're saying here, reduced immigration time will make them go to JB more, right? 65% say infrastructure upgrades, including better transportation, right? And also things like supermarkets, etc. So that refers to things like driving, right? So basically today we only have 2 bridges. Also basically they're saying if there are more infra, like a 3rd bridge, or if public transportation within JB, either better buses or better LRT within JB, this will also encourage them to come to JB more often. 65% said yes, right? It's basically 2/3, right? And 62% basically said that if there was more duty-free concession, or I think it basically saying if it was more cheaper to buy things in JB, they will also come to JB more often. 60%. These are the top four. Well, there are other reasons listed earlier in their survey questions. I think that if you notice, the answers are roughly 50%, right here, like 40%, 50%, or just over 50%. So not a big game changer according to the respondents. The four biggest big game changers are actually these four over here. So you can see that actually the important thing to people are the speed of travel, reduction of travel time through reduced immigration, and of course to buy things in Malaysia cheaper, right? Because I think of course a lot of people are trying to get bargain shopping or reduce the cost of living from Singapore, lower rents. So that's the reason why they want to come to JB. So these are the four reasons that will encourage them to JB quite a fair bit. Okay, so that's basically the survey, right? If you're interested to find out more, do feel free to scroll back through this video and just pause different parts of my video to take a look at the survey data that was given by Sensing SG. So thank you very much to Sensing SG. All credit to them for this survey report. I hope this short video was useful to you. And if you have always been a skeptic, or you have friends or families who have been skeptical about this whole JB or potential of Johor Bahru thing, please feel free to share this video with them to let them understand. Really, there are a lot of people who are considering JB today, right? The survey shows it that statistically, the interest in JB is very high today, and these are the things that will make the experience better, right? It's also useful information for the government and of both Singapore and Malaysia. Okay, so if you enjoy this kind of information, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also join me on my Facebook page, Malaysian Investors in Singapore. Do scan this to join our scan this QR code to join my mailing list. You can also find me at 81261626. I hope you enjoy the rest of my YouTube content and also see me on TikTok. And thank you very much, and bye-bye.